Okay, folks. Sorry to keep everybody waiting. It's been one of those months and weeks. We've got some noir jazz in the background just to make things a little bit more relaxed and captivating. And I seem to be going into Shatner mode. Commander Raiden, raise the shields. Commander Stephen, bring up the forecast for tonight's viewing. This evening is going to be a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more low-key than usual, because I would have had something majorly planned out for this evening, but given how unpredictable the heat has been in the last week or so, I mean, Steve can protest to this as well, because he lives within the same region in the UK as I do, and the humidity, it's just as bad at night as it is during the day. It's one of those things, you can't fight it, you can only go with it, and as such you just adapt and try to get through it as best possible.
All I have to say for y'all, I pray for you guys in July.
Oh, don't.
I mean, and if they
pray for me too, because Lord knows, last few years, man.
I know, right?
For the whole month, it was 90.
Jeez.
I couldn't do anything but work, and after that, I don't want to do anything.
No, it's pretty much.
And if people say oh, it's gonna get better, don't worry about it. I have a bit on the soundboard which I found yesterday, which probably sums up my thoughts on that matter.
Oh boy. I saw that.
I'm not.
I remember hearing that when somebody put up Mario versus Wario on an old Flash video on Newgrounds.com, so you know this is old school.
Very.
and it would actually have like Cooper at the end. He realizes he's standing over nothing. You hear, "Don't you believe it?" Then you hear, "Hua!" Just falls into it. And throughout the whole time, the Mario characters are chasing each other to the score of the Benny Hill theme. Which is what you do when you have like a comedic chase. We are going to start the night off with kind of a treat, per se. Because I came across this the other day, and this is one that, you know, people are gonna feel this one, because it's such a touching and loving gesture to the late Akira Toriyama. And the way it's done as well, chef's kiss. Let me know when you're both ready.
Yeah, I'm at 0.
Hold on. I gotta add. Hold up, so.
Sure.
Weird, because I already have ad block, but alright. Alright, I'm at 0.
3, 2, 1, play. Damn it, Goku. I thought there was one G in beginning. Nice. Let's be real, most of us have tried.
Yeah.
Like, let's be real, we've all done this.
Macy's Parade?
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, I love the fact somebody had a scouter.
But what did it say about the power line?
If you thought the African American community loves DVD, it is nothing compared to the Latino community. They work to go through like the God. It's like we're at work. There's one person that is. There's one person who has a van, who has a truck, and we go through on one of the front.
this bit. This got me in the feels.
Oh man.
Quando bates conèixer, vaig recordar imatges que guardava dins el cor des que era petit. Vols
Indeed,
ballar
thank you.
amb mi en aquest difícil camí de llum i ombra.
And for me, I'll never forget when I heard his passing, and I was going through a bad week, because going through a new schedule and shit. But after hearing his passing, it just made me go. It made me go back to like a lot of deep Dragon Ball Z content. Just to remind myself, like, yeah, this is stuff that made me happy. So,
Mm.
and I know just Toriyama wouldn't anyone to be sad. Just he created this on passion alone, and honestly, it was thanks to his passion that we still love the characters that he's made over the years. So yeah.
I mean, for me, hearing Dan come in and then the shot of Toriyama with the halo and Goku just shaking hands saying goodbye is like, that was a punch to the gut in a good way. Because, the creation saying goodbye to the creator. And it is quite impressive, the sheer impact that the story of Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z and then Super has had such a global impact that Goku has inspired so many other creators and fans all over the world. I mean, for me, when you see that one soccer player doing the instant transmission pose, I'm like, it's like, yeah, we've all done that. And Sean says it right there. If we didn't have Akira Toriyama, we wouldn't have Team 4-Star.
Absolutely.
I don't know what his feelings would be with Team 4-Star, because the fans across the world, they love him. But the people that own Dragon Ball, I know Funimation. Funimation absolutely love him. But,
yeah, they do.
But the Japanese side of it, they're like, we understand the love.
Honestly, if anything, I kind of put that on Toei.
Yeah. I mean, Chris...
I personally think Toriyama would love it. I think it's more on the business side.
Yeah.
It's more on the business side that didn't like them.
I mean, Chris Sabat actually had cameos in some
Yeah.
of the Team 4-Star stuff. It even got Kaiser Neku to have like a 2-second role in.
Yeah.
I think it was either the TV adaptation of Frieza's Resurrection or the movie one, because I don't recall. Because I've got the movie trilogy on Blu-ray where you've got Battle of Gods, Resurrection F, and then the Broly movie. I don't.
Also, another fun fact: Takaha 101, in the first Dragon Ball Xenoverse, when you create a character, he did voice work, and you can use it. You can actually use it. Yeah, you can actually use his voice in that one.
Oh, fair play. Good on him for that.
Neat.
Steve, what did you think of the tribute?
Nicely done. not too familiar with the Dragon Ball franchise as a whole, but it's a very nice little tribute to a man who created a franchise that would forever make its mark on the world.
Yeah. And it's like I say, so many people across the globe, they're inspired by Goku's story because there just doesn't seem to be any limits that he can't break. And in the case of SSJ9, Goku actually won a rap battle against Superman. And, oddly enough, I do actually have a rap battle. This may actually please Sir Stephen as well. What if the symbiote found its way onto Goku?
Nah.
It's one of those, don't try to think too much about it, it's just go with it. Also, SSJ, I don't know how he keeps coming up with the stuff that he does, but the dude is on a major creative level, as Raiden can attest to some of the what if Goku and Vegeta were black videos. Some of the ones he comes out with, especially the way they did Goku Black Dirty by revoking his card the moment he did the Carlton dance. I'm like, oh man, come on, really? It's one of those, like I say, just appreciate it for what it is. Alright, I'm at 0.
Hang on.
Sure.
Okay, I'm at 0.
You the same, Raiden?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, play.
This is
Ooh, very harmonious.
Hey, I'm your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
what's so friendly about dropping down on somebody?
Strippers drop it down all the time.
Damn.
No one complains when they do it. Unless
Facts.
they got a STD. Or a symbiote.
A what?
My spidey senses were right. A symbiote has taken control of your stereo.
Is it making this fire-ass beat?
I don't know, but I'm about to spit something.
What?
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man just blew 100 grand. Put webs on my money cause I'm tired of popping bands. Daily Bugle caught a nigga selling grams.
Whoa, hey! Miles, you got caught selling drugs?
Yo, Pete, chill.
Huh?
I know you Spider-Man and all, but you mad bugging right now. I took care of it.
What are you doing with the gun?
Well, ever since this black gooey stuff got on my suit, I've been getting active.
Oh no!
He has the juice now! Ah!
Money bag Miles, count that bread in style. When I let that fire boom on Goku, I'ma smile.
Do you think you're acting like a hero right now?
Leave his body in a pile. Now Chi-Chi tryna have my child.
Oh, shit.
Talk about the catch a fucking wave. Yeah. Miles killer saying now he dead. Yeah. Chi-Chi want a spider in her bed.
Oh, come on.
I just busted webs on her head. Yeah.
How dare you bust webs on Chi-Chi's head?
It felt good.
Okay!
Guy who's playing Goku's
Yo, I just
doing
had
it
this
well.
dream that I was mad ratchet.
That's because you were, Miles.
Ratchet as fuck!
You had a symbiote on you.
Huh?
I guess sometimes with great power comes great ratchetness.
Okay.
Kamehameha!
Oh shit.
I'm going to eat you.
Yo, dude, wildin'.
But first, I'm going to eat this beat. Venom, 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 venom. Son Goku, I am in them.
Yo,
on, don't do Miles like that.
Easy throwing them cheeks. Bitch, I'm Venom, go y'all nasty. And I bet you boys seem like Backstreet.
I like the Backstreet Boys.
I'm a dog like Lassie. You ain't never seen a symbiote blast key.
Ah! Yo, Pete, don't let him get me. Don't worry, Miles. I won't let him lay a finger on you. You really mean that? Nope. Bye! Yo, you wildin'! Thanks for watching. Hit the like. Thanks for watching. Hit the like.
Oh god. I like some of the top. I think the top comment is, oh. Yeah, I think someone said something to the. Oh, right. I remember when Vegeta did a reaction to it. It's like, the idea of a symbiote Goku is a terrifying concept. Oh dear.
Anything venomized is a terrible concept. But apparently that's a thing now. Godzilla you've now got Venom Godzilla out there.
Damn. Raiden, as somebody who appreciates SSJ's material, thoughts on that?
Pretty funny, you know. Miles was insane. The symbiote, you know what I'm saying? So like, that was pretty good.
That's like
Venom, Goku, yeah.
And also, it didn't need to do Miles dirty like that. It's like his game is lame. It's like, oh come on. Some of the funnier ones he's done is when it's been what Sean just said. What about Boo with the symbiote? No, nobody wants to see that.
The Black Air Force energy right there.
I mean,
he's already typed marshmallow fluff already.
Have you noticed ever since the end of Z, Boo's become kind of, well, he's just a background character. And of course in GT, well, he fuses with Oob to become Majin Oob, I think. Yeah, that's the right way to look at it. But, no, Boo kind of got pushed to the back. And I've noticed, anytime any villain has been humbled by Goku, they kind of just fade off into the sunset. I mean, I think the only reason Frieza was brought back may have just been fan demand, and also maybe the timing was right. Also, I thought the rules of the Dragon Balls were somebody has to, particularly with the Earth Balls, you can only be brought back once, and it has to be within a year of them passing. Otherwise, Shenron will just turn around and say, nah, not happening. And yet, Frieza was destroyed probably at that stage, probably like close to 10 years. Since Future Trunks did away with him, and yet he's brought back as he was in pieces. But then again, I suppose if, you're the creator of that world, you can set the rules. Whereas if it was the Namekian Dragon Balls, you can bring someone back as many times as you want. I don't know. Yeah. Like I say, some of the ones where it's been Goku versus Sonic in a rap battle, how to phrase this? I appreciate it's done for comedic humor, but there's some points where some of the jokes have involved Amy, and I look and think, okay. And this idea of King Kai and Robotnik fusing together is kind of like, okay, that's something I didn't think would happen. But I absolutely love SSJ's material because I don't know how he does it. He just comes up with new material all the time, and he has like a second channel where it's just for like rap battles of other stuff. But his main one is like, you know, it's all the stuff with Dragon Ball and what have you. I don't know. Let's see. What else can we go into for this evening? Because I don't really want it to be all doing reactions to videos. Let's see.
Oh, they've announced the new title for the next MonsterVerse movie.
Which is?
It's called Godzilla Kong Supernova.
How many Godzilla Kong movies have there been now?
Let's see. Godzilla vs. Kong, and then Godzilla Kong: The New Empire.
Which one was it that had the kid? Was it Godzilla or Kong?
Well, they both featured the character that had a kind of kinship with Kong.
Okay.
Yeah. What's her name?
Hard to think the MonsterVerse has been going 11 years now, because the Godzilla reboot was 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Godzilla seems to be more popular now than ever. You've got him doing another crossover with the Legendary and the DC comics. You've got more crossovers with Marvel Comics. A manga that's coming out in a couple of months. And then a new series. And then a new series by IDW set in a new universe.
Nice. Of course, DC have also got that crossover with Sonic as well, haven't they?
Mm-hmm.
That'll be worth a look. Oh, Sean just says, going over the name of the title, we might get Space Godzilla. Huh.
Or Gigan.
That's what I said.
Although I'd like to see something new, because it's all well and good bringing old favorites back in, but maybe maybe try and bring something with new twist on it.
Exactly.
Maybe.
I mean,
personally, I would love to see Mecha King Ghidorah.
I think with old favorites, I think that's something that should be, I don't want to say reserved, but you bring it back,
built up to,
and also bring it back sparingly. It's just so that I'm trying to think of an example that'll go with this. You don't want it to outstay its welcome, and you don't want the novelty to disappear so quick. In a similar vein, you know, if you think back to the late 90s and the early 2000s, we would only get a Jurassic Park movie every 4 years. With the advent of Jurassic World, it was every 3 years, although with Dominion, it was back to 4 years, but we can blame the world event for that. And it's a similar thing with comic book movies now. I mean, in the 80s and the 90s, it was only ever Superman, Batman. There was The Shadow, but that commercially bombed. And then Blade is what really got it going for Marvel. It may have been the X-Men at the beginning of the millennium that really got things going, but if it hadn't been for Blade, you wouldn't see most of these, you know, more of these comic book adaptations. And it's a funny thing, Wesley Snipes was at one stage almost persuaded not to do these movies, and he's like a vampire with a sword and doing karate. It's like, hell yeah, I'm up for that. And
And as far as we've known now, there has only been one Blade.
Funnily enough, he says that in Deadpool Wolverine. There's only one Blade, and I'm
Yeah.
like, you damn right. And I think somebody said in like the comments section, I think it might have been for the Jurassic Park 7 trailer, it's like he got tired of waiting to play Blade, so he'd go off and fight dinosaurs instead. Like, and that's just the thing with Ali. I think he really could have been a good Blade, from what I've heard with his performances, but Marvel kept messing him around, and it's just like, you get to a point where it's like, look, are we doing this or not? And as to whether Rebirth will be any good, I mean, at the moment, I'd like to cautiously believe that it has to be better than Dominion, because, Steve, we've said this for the last 3 years or so, it left a bit of an unpleasant aftertaste in our mouths. Because end of Fallen Kingdom, you had the perfect premise set up. Dinosaurs coexisting with humanity. Oh, we're going to focus on Cretaceous locusts upsetting the food chain. What?
In a franchise about dinosaurs.
And I think Raiden's reactions when I showed that 2 years ago is like, huh?
Yeah.
I think like the most takeaway things like, this is the same bullshit I've heard from the Monsterverse.
Yeah.
But I don't know about the new Superman movie. I know we shouldn't really go into it with like a preconceived notion, but from what I've been hearing from test screenings, the vibe is not strong with this one, and I got nothing against David Cornsweet, who's playing Supes, because at the end of the day, he's just getting paid to do a job. But I will say, for many years to come, Henry Cavill was deserved his Man of Steel sequel. Because he could have really been a good...
Here's my thing. He could have been if it wasn't directed by Zack Snyder.
Oh yeah. Then again...
I've always attest this, that... Okay, we all know that the Justice League, all individual members are powerful, but not as powerful as gods. I mean, that's Wonder Woman. Like, get that part, but like making them look like gods or whatever. I think that was the main crutch. Also, you kill off Superman in his second appearance.
Why?
Yeah.
And honestly, when it comes to this new Superman, I'm definitely keeping I'm already all in with it. Like, haven't really been hearing about test screening, but it's like, I've just been seeing like that long preview on how James Gunn's dog was modeled after Crypto. I don't know, man. Like, what I like about the movie so far, we see certain parts, but isn't like fully spoiled. So we don't know like how things are gonna go. Which that intrigues me. You know, so I'm looking forward to that. And funny enough, we do get characters from Superman make an appearance in the second season 2 teaser of Peacemaker. So it's already all
tying in
this universe. James Gunn is creating. So far, it's pretty good. Hell, there's one character in the character that made his debut in an animated series, and it's replies with the same guy that voiced him, Rick Flag Sr., Frank Grillo. So I'm looking forward to this whole thing.
So is Peacemaker being carried over into the Gunverse?
I'd assume so.
Yeah, I guess. Same goes for Blue Beetle.
Because Peacemaker was also connected with the Snyderverse, because there was that one shot at the end of one episode where you do actually see the Flash and Aquaman.
I think that was like the season 1 finale.
Okay. Mind you, speaking of Peacemaker, old John Boy retained last night.
I heard the match was doo-doo butter.
It
Well,
was,
that's because there was outside interference, but nobody would say otherwise.
and also the fact it became like a shit show with, you get an RKO, you get an RKO, and you get an RKO, and I appreciate it's part of the story, but did R-Truth really need to get put through the table at the post-press conference? It's just like...
Damage.
He did the same thing at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Well, they wanted Cena to go... People wanted Cena to go heel for all these years. I don't know. Some are speculating he might turn...
From what I've heard, off topic, like, as itself, not one clean win.
No. He says this is the last time it's him versus Orton. No. You've got to be thinking that Orton's going to find a way to get a rematch. Because I refuse to believe this is going to be a thing where Cena does a Brock Lesnar or a Roman Reigns when he shows up only when it suits him. And the fact that he said on one promo on Raw, "Oh, I'm just here just to show up. I'm not actually going to do anything." It's like, clearly you forget about the mandatory 30-day title defense rule. Now, granted, WWE only seems to like enforcing said rule when it suits them. I mean, prime example, when Trish Stratus went off injured at the end of May in 2005, she didn't show up until the night after Unforgiven 05, and that was like 3 months removed.
Actually, off topic, she actually before that she actually did return and teamed up with Ashley in Unforgiven 05.
Yeah, because I don't think she showed up at Unforgiven because it was the night after Unforgiven. Because
hold on, let me see.
Because I do remember Ashley saying, "Oh, I've called in a friend of mine," and then you hear her theme by Lil' Kim, and it's just like, oh, okay. So by that point, Trish.
Yeah. Okay. I see the results. Yeah, Ashley and Trish Stratus defeated Ladies in Pink, Tori Wilson, and Victoria.
Because she should have dropped the belt 3 times within that time. Because they've had no problem.
If anything, I think it was because of Lita getting injured early in the year, because they did that match for New Year's Revolution that year, and at WrestleMania 21, it was planned that Lita and Trish were going to face off, but after she got injured, Christy Hemme took her place.
And to be fair to Christy, she could actually wrestle a good match, even though she hadn't had that much training, but she had the gusto to do it. And then, of course, started off that feud between her and Victoria, so I'm like, yeah, this feels natural. But yeah, like I say, they're only like enforcing that rule when it suits them, because, again, Trish should have had the belt removed 3 times. They've had no problem doing this to Edge whenever he was injured and he had to vacate the belt, because they did this with him with the Intercontinental title in the fall of 2004. Then they did the same thing to him 3 years later when he was injured and he had to vacate the World Heavyweight title. Batista in early 06, he had I think he had a shoulder injury at the time, because here's a little bit of a story that goes into it. Batista was supposed to drop the belt to Eddie Guerrero going into Survivor Series 05. But of course, as we all know, Eddie sadly passed away just before Survivor Series, so Batista had to hold on to the belt a little bit longer. But when he got given the news that, look, you need this operation on your shoulder, you can't put this off any longer, that's when he vacated the belt, and Kurt Angle comes in as a free agent to SmackDown and wins the World Heavyweight title. And as a result, Kurt goes face. And here's the thing. I always felt like they didn't ever make enough of Kurt Angle's time as a babyface. Because, yeah, he can play a heel very naturally. Whether it was the dark, aggressive version in 05 and 06. But I felt like when he had his face run in 01 and 03 respectively, I don't think that was ever made enough, because
I think 2003 was his best.
Yeah, considering the injury he came back from, which, a little bit of a backstory, it was his broken neck that had never really fully healed from his 96 Olympic winning match. And it just sort of all caught up with him. And he could have had spinal fusion surgery, the same that the late Scott Hall had and Stone Cold had. But with their surgeries, they would have been out close to a year. Whereas this, at the time, very new surgery that the doctor that was doing the operation, it would actually just chip away at bone spurs that was giving him all the aggravation instead of spinal fusion surgery, and Kurt would be back within 3 months. And I'm like, oh wow, really? And the way they did that...
Did the same thing happen to Cena? Like in 08?
Think so.
After he fought Batista at SummerSlam?
Yeah, he came back super quick. And he just comes back, it's like, it's nothing. And it's just like...
Yeah, it was 2 months.
Yeah. Because he came back at Survivor Series. Like, oh hey, I got a world title shot, Jericho. The fuck? And main event as well. And despite my feelings about Jericho, I always felt like they never made enough of him as world champion. I mean, he had his one reign as WCW champion, then his coffee break as... This was still as WCW champion, but because Vinny being Vinny, it was just now the world title. But then he becomes the first undisputed champion in WWF. Drops it at WrestleMania. Yeah, oh yeah. One of the things he talks about on Talk is Jericho, his first night as undisputed champion, he got locked out of his hotel room. And he was like eating cold pepperoni pizza from Domino's. He didn't even know he was going to be undisputed champion until he was told that night. It's like, you're winning the belt. Like, oh, okay. And it's a similar thing that happened with Austin. Because of the now infamous Madison Square Garden curtain call in '96, Triple H was originally supposed to win 96 King of the Ring. But it went over to Austin because Vince had to punish somebody because Shawn was champion. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were going over to WCW. And so Triple H was made to take the heat even though he didn't want to. Yeah. But to be fair, if Austin had not won King of the Ring, would we have had WWE as we know it today?
Really?
But then, in turn, if we didn't have the NWO forming just months beforehand, would we have pro wrestling as we know it today? Because it was WCW the way it was then that made Vinny change the way he was doing things. Would have been nice if someone had made him change the way he was doing things before, long before he exited, but that's a story unto itself.
Yeah.
I mean, under Triple H, it's not perfect at the moment, but considering how it was before with the former guard, comparatively, I'd say it's an improvement. That's just my opinion.
Half and half, but I see what you're saying.
Well, at least
they know, like at least some of the women are getting treated with respect. I mean, some.
I mean,
ladies and gentlemen, if y'all don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of Richard, but I can swallow my pride and say he's doing okay. I'm using the biggest air quotes here.
I mean, at least with the current product, there is more freedom for a lot of the talent that they didn't have before. Like now, Michael Cole is not being fed word for word into his ear how to commentate. I mean, Triple H said something to the effect of, like, you've had 20 plus years experience. If you don't know what to do now, then you're never going to know what to do. So they just have Michael Cole calling it the way he sees it, which is how it should be. I think micromanagement, particularly in this scenario, it doesn't work. But Vinny seems to think, well, we just keep doing the same thing until it works. Like, no. You change the formula, or you change the way you get to, you change the way you get to the destination, not the destination itself. You just learn to pivot and course correct, but... And this is where... Not defending Vinny, I'm just saying it like it is. He comes from he's a product of his generation when it comes to booking. He did things a certain way because he grew up under his father, particularly the way his father ran the promotion in the 60s, 70s, and the early 80s. I mean, that's all Vinny knows. Whereas Triple H, he rose up as a pro wrestler, not a sports entertainer, because CM Punk said it best. In 2011, you just see pro wrestling as a dirty word. It's like, why? Because that is what this is. This is a wrestling ring, not a sports entertainment ring. This is a wrestling ring. And Vince says like the most honest thing that he's ever said. I don't give a damn what you people want. It's like, and that's the problem. It'd be like, I don't know. Let's say, for sake of discussion, you have an entertainment promotion where people want to push Steven's idea of a Godzilla Monster Marathon week because he knows that's what the fans want, and this promoter says, we want a Britney Spears marathon. It's like, no, we don't. And I say this with respect, especially what Britney's gone through in the last few years. No one should ever have to go through that.
Absolutely.
But as an actress, she has a lot to be desired. And I'm not saying that to be nasty.
Especially if you watch that movie Crossroads. Oh my god.
I've heard stories.
On the bright side, he had Dan Aykroyd as a father.
It's always a good starting point to have Dr. Stantz.
Yeah.
It does make me wonder if they are going to go ahead with the third Ghostbusters under I'm blanking on.
I haven't heard any good things about Frozen Empire.
It's not a terrible movie. It doesn't quite have
Okay.
the same pulling power as Afterlife did, because Afterlife was, that was a passion project that fans had wanted to see for decades, because we all wanted the true third movie with the original team together one last time, and we did get that, and we got the passing of the baton the way it should have been done, because people say, oh, isn't that what they tried to do in the 2016 movies? Like, no, and
You do not talk about that movie at all.
Paul Feig, take the L, man.
But on the bright side, at least we're getting that Ghostbusters cartoon on Netflix.
Yeah, I've been hearing about this as well. I don't know the story going into this. I presume it's following the movie canon, or I don't know if they'd necessarily follow the real Ghostbusters canon, because, Steve, even to this day, the Extreme Ghostbusters finale felt like a nice conclusion for that particular franchise, because it did tie everything up. Steve, you there?
Yeah, I am.
All right.
For me, Extreme Ghostbusters was my entry into Ghostbusters as a whole. And then after that, I watched the first two movies, and I liked, and I enjoyed it.
It was a great animated series.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just.
Plus, I think that was a trio of TV series that would come out of Sony Animation, because you had that, Godzilla the series, one of my personal favorites, and then the Men in Black animated series.
Men in Black. Yeah, I did notice the same animation after I rewatched Extreme Ghostbusters and a little bit of Men in Black.
It did. The animation style did lean towards a darker tone, because to be fair, season 1 of the real Ghostbusters, for an 80s show, it went to places. Looking back at it, and I still get annoyed to this day the way, like, a few seasons after, when it go into Slimer and the real Ghostbusters, it dumbed it down and, tried to lighten it up. It's like, these are...
So, basically the equivalent of... Well, kind of sort of the equivalent of after the first TMNT live-action movie, the second one was more akin to the 80s series. But for me, I think in a sense, you did have a little bit of the seriousness of the first movie, but it was still ramped up for, like, kids, which honestly wasn't bad. Third movie, well, I didn't hate it, but
it's not at the top.
It's kind of a guilty pleasure.
I was about to say something similar. It's not one I automatically go back to whenever I want to watch a Turtles movie. When I want to watch a good Turtles movie, I always revert to the very first one. Because...
Yeah.
And what people forget is that was actually an independent movie. That wasn't, given any major funding by any major studio, because they're like, oh, this will never take off. The independent studio's like, right, we'll take care of this. And it's like, all of a sudden 20th Century Fox, oh, we want in this. Oh, but you need to lighten this up. It's like, really? Well, people are complaining that there's a lot of dark elements. Like, have you read a Turtles comic book? Especially the very first Ninja Turtles comic book, they killed the Shredder off in the first issue.
Yeah, they did.
But, they weren't intending it to be kiddified. It was just meant to be like a dark parody of Daredevil. But the parody ended up becoming like its own thing.
Yep.
In a similar vein, Slayers was meant to be like a parody and just like mocking tropes in fantasy sorcery anime where, you know, the male protagonist is not a gallant, intelligent, and dashing swordsman. You have Gowry, he's still brave and gallant and master of his swordsmanship, but he's as dumb as a wooden post. And Lena Inverse, who is not overly statured, not gracious, not humble, is a short-statured, well endowed as a sorceress who's a glutton, bad-tempered, and greedy sorceress that is only in it for the money. The only times where you do see her taking a moral stance is when she sees innocent people being hurt. She's just like, okay, you know what? No, I'm not letting that slide. But that became like its own thing. It's weird when you have these properties, like I say, start out as just like a pun, but it then takes a life onto itself. Because Spider-Man was brought in at the end of Amazing Fantasy, but he did so well, he got his own comic book series, and in a similar vein, the way the Hulk was changed from grey to green was just done so casually because the printer had a trouble keeping the consistency of grey that they wanted him to have. So Stan, in his words, in his infinite wisdom, just look at what is not non-superhero wear, and I'll just change him to green. It was casual as that. But for the TV series, Kenneth Johnston wanted the Hulk to be red because that's the color of anger. And Stan was like adamant, like, no, he needs to be green. It's like, what is he, the envious Hulk? And Stan would, you know, he'd be okay with quite a few changes, like making it a little bit more realistic where instead of being invincible, the Hulk just has accelerated healing, which makes sense, and the Hulk couldn't speak, and the Hulk would only be like 7 feet tall, but he wouldn't budge on the skin color being red. But then again, decades later, we got Red Hulk. And from what I've been hearing from some fans, Brave New World is not as terrible as they made it out to be. Especially with Harrison Ford, because apparently he went in there and he absolutely sold his role as General Ross. And I do see it in some scenes, like, okay, he probably knows the movie's not going to be that much, but he's giving it, which is probably more than what he gave with Indiana Jones in recent years. But from what I understand, Dial of Destiny was not exactly something people were rushing to the theaters to go watch. And of all people, you had to bring James Mangold into this. Like, the guy's a decent director. Why can't you just let him do what he wants to? Oh wait, it's Lucasfilms under Kathleen Kennedy. Never mind.
Oh man, I mean, I'm always gonna praise his work for what he did with the Wolverine and
oh, for
Old
sure,
Man Logan. I mean, I mean, at least he encouraged people to read the material, and what's worth, we got 2 good movies out of it. And we're doing a Star Wars movie. I would love, but only if he does his own thing. Because being restrained by doing a movie, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt your chances.
Yeah. And I find it amusing that Episode 3, re-released for its 20th anniversary, was absolutely wiping the floor with the Disney trilogy. You know,
of course,
say what we will about the prequel trilogy, but at least George Lucas was consistent. He knew how he wanted the story to be told. And Episode 3, to this day, that's the only Star Wars movie I've ever gone to see in the theater. And here's the thing, I'm not a Star Wars fan, and even I enjoyed that movie. I thought it was amazing. And it's as I've said before, me and my buddy Pete, if you're listening, hey buddy, how you doing? We come out from watching episode 3 at the Odeon in Western, which the Odeon's no longer there, it's taken over by another cinema company now. We go into Subway afterwards, and that's when we hear the story about these two kids that make their homemade lightsabers out of these empty light tubes and fill it with petrol. And they end up going to the hospital with 3rd-degree burns, and one of them busts open, and I'm just like...
Oh, God.
It's like, I shouldn't laugh, but if you're that stupid enough to go and make a homemade lightsaber with that, I don't mean to be mean, but you kind of deserve what you get. And I remember someone vaguely saying that particular day, I guess the Force wasn't with them. Or the Force is not strong here. Sean just says, episodes 1, 2, and 3 will always be better than 7, 8, and 9.
Agreed.
It's funny. I read one...
For some people, it's a very low bar, but for what it's worth, at least the action was actually greater with those 3 over the other ones later on.
I remember reading this comment about episode 9, which was The Last Jedi. Someone just simply put in, episode 2, all is forgiven. I'm like, oh shit. Because before then, episode 2 was considered the worst.
I think 9 was Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, the fact at the end, Rey goes and says, I am Rey Skywalker. Pardon my language, but I just thought, fuck off.
No, you're not.
Yeah, look. As someone who's up and down with the Star Wars franchise, I can finally say like Rey was a waste of time.
I mean,
they kept pushing her to the main
character status should have went to Finn. Yeah, the main character should have been Finn.
I agree. I mean, and
it's one of the main reasons why John Boyega's not dealing with mainstream Hollywood, because of his treatment on the Star Wars movies.
Utter shame.
Way to go, Disney.
And here's the thing. As much as I love Chloe Moretz, I could not defend what she said afterwards. They'd say, "Oh, they wouldn't call Luke the male equivalent of a Mary Sue because he didn't get it right." It's like, no, you're right. He wasn't a Gary Stu because Luke failed twice before he became a Jedi in the 3rd movie. Luke didn't have it easy. Whereas Rey, it's like, oh, she's mastering the Force in after one movie in episode 7. I'm just looking like, what? And she goes and says, oh, there's no such thing as a Mary Sue, that's sexist. Like, no. That is an actual term to describe an overpowered female character. That's why it's the female equivalent of a Gary Stu, which is something that Goku's been referred to on occasion. But Goku's failed as well. I mean, well, I wouldn't call the heart disease a failure, but he took a major L that particular time against the androids. I mean, if it had not been for the heart virus, he probably would have wiped the floor with them. But it then gave Vegeta an opportunity to step in and, well, he could finally lay claim to being a true Super Saiyan, but then, started the whole back and forth with him and Goku. It's like, Goku reaches SS2. Last, you Kakarot! But that's just like up until, the birth of his kid. Yeah, that's actually true, Sean. Goku died more than once as well. Then again, so did Vegeta.
Once or twice.
First
I think
time,
twice.
first time on Namek, got revived via Porunga, and then died again as a sacrifice to get rid of Boo, but Boo somehow uber regenerated. I'm looking like, okay, how and why? But then he got wished back via the Namekian balls once again because, well, Boo blew up the Earth. Like, yeah, thanks, Boo. I felt like the Boo saga was something that went on a little too long. But then again, you could argue the same thing with the Namek and Frieza sagas, because they did drag on a hell of a long time. But that was to
It did, but like with Boo Saga, there were good ideas and there were very bad ideas. Like for me, my main issue is how they treated Gohan after the Cell Saga.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Yeah,
Because he was
God rest Akira Toriyama, but I held a grudge for so long after that.
Because Gohan was meant to be like the franchise leader at that point, because it was the passing of the torch. But it's like, lol, now let's just bring back Goku, and I'm like, ugh. But I don't know. I don't know how the character will get treated, you know, going forward now, because, well, we don't know what their plans are after Dragon Ball Daima, because that's supposed to be set, I think it's supposed to be set like a year after the events of the Boo saga, but it's set before Super. And somehow Super Saiyan 4 is now canon. Again.
Yep.
But the difference is Goku's not had to become a child again just to grow into Super Saiyan 4, which was the only time he would be an adult in GT, which that had to be a confusing, restricting schedule for Sean Schemmel, because he was only at it for the start, and then he was only at it for, like, brief periods where it's like, okay, we're bringing you in this week. It's like, oh, now you bring me in. But GT as a series was just all over the place, but that's because they weren't working with a lot of the material nor backing from Toriyama, because I don't think he had anything to do or anything planned after the end of Z, because as far as he was concerned, it was done. Whereas with Super, they actually worked with him.
Funny enough, if it wasn't for Dragon Ball Evolution, Kurt wouldn't have come back.
Thing is, he actually didn't mind Evolution. He's probably one of the very few people who didn't. But Evolution.
Funny enough, the main actor who played Goku, Justin Chatwin, always apologizes. I mean, to be fair, dude, it was a job. You didn't write you didn't write it, so
No.
And the cool thing about that movie, the main dude that played Piccolo in that one,
James Masters.
later on voiced. Played Zamasu in Super.
I know. I got a feeling he did enjoy that so much because, you know, he's a huge fan of the franchise. So, and he was probably like one of the very few reprising aspects of Evolution, because you know an actor is enjoying what they're doing when they're doing it, because it shows in their performance. And there's this very calm, suave, and reserved delivery that he gave as Piccolo. It's like, it just works. Chow Yun-fat as Master Roshi, I felt like he maybe did his role a little too well. And it's a much younger Roshi as well. Although the way their take on his house being on an island is like, oh, it's like on a moat within the city. Like, okay, it's different. Remember there was like I think it was like an extra feature on the Blu-ray for Evolution, and Justin was a little concerned with how the fans would perceive him, and his friend is just like, dude, they hate you. It's like, yeah, seems about right. I don't think his performance was terrible. It probably could have worked better for him if, as you say, the studio actually gave him decent material, but it was what it was. And I keep hearing, like, word on the wire that they're thinking about bringing it back as a live-action movie with Henry Cavill as Vegeta, which, here's the thing. From a visual standpoint, because I've seen some people do fan art and AI work with him in the Saiyan armor with the Widow's Peak, and I'm like, give him a chance. He could make that work. Because apparently the original look they were going to go for before they gave us what they gave us with Evolution, the word on the wire was that it was going to be Ray Parks as Vegeta, who played Toad in the X-Men movies, and it would have been Hugh Jackman as Goku.
And Snake Eyes in the G.I. Joe movies.
Oh, wow.
First two.
I mean, I don't know if I could see...
and Darth Maul.
I don't know if I could see Jackman as Goku, because, not being funny, he'd already solidified his place as Wolverine long before that point, so... Who would play Nappa? Oddly enough, Sean, and this is going to be, like, so predictable, people wanted Bill Goldberg, and I'm like, that's just too easy. And the thing is,
too easy.
He has the look for it as well. Be interesting if they ever did Team 4 Star as a live action thing. It'd be like, oh no. The weirdest thing now, whenever I think Nappa, I'm always picturing the idiot version, but that's the effect of that fan series, because it's essentially giving the fans what they want. And funnily enough, in the parody series Sonic F, which is meant to be like a pun on Sonic X, there's an exchange between Chris and Sonic. Goes, hey Sonic, what does the Scouter say about his power? I was like, really? You're really going through with this? Like, what does it say? It's like, we discussed this and I said no. It's one of those parody series, you're either gonna like it or you're not. That's all I can really say for that. If anybody doesn't have anything additional to bring to the table, shall we call it time for this season? I'll say I'll take that as a no then. Alrighty. Right, thank you to people who have stuck with us this season. This season has been all over the place. Largely part due to my fault. Mainly because of the fact that my sleep schedule has... It's been an up and down roller coaster ride. Mainly due to not sticking to a self-discipline that I should have kept to, which is going to sleep when I should be going to sleep instead of staying up later, and before you know it, you know, by the time you get to bed, it's 11 a.m., midday, and you're ruining whatever chance you've got of having a decent amount of time to say wake up for, say, I don't know, 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and then have ample amount of time to get what you want done. But that happens sometimes. Sometimes you just get caught in a bad rut, and sometimes it takes just a few weeks just to get yourself out of a bad situation, recharge the batteries, and get back into it, hopefully with renewed sense of purpose. It's one of the things I have been able to get done in these last 2 weeks since I've been off work. I have actually got 4 scripts written up for Real Features. One of those will be Sinners, and that'll be my first theatrical review in that's probably going to be my first theatrical review probably since 2019. But things were a lot easier before the world event. I feel like
Don't we know it?
Because the world has been a very different place since then.
Oh dear.
Yeah, no. One thing I'm going to be hoping to get back into is more live gaming again. But I really want to get at least 3 movie reviews done first, just so that we get set up over the summer, and then just hit the ground running, and probably not do as we did once before, Steve, where I was playing Jurassic World Evolution 2 Chaos Theory until about 6 or 7 in the morning. I don't think we can ever go that long in, well, especially with how paper thin the walls in this apartment are. I mean, there are recordings that are on my gaming channel now, where people will hear that in the background. It's just like, perfect.
And I've got rules now saying that there's no loud noise allowed after 11 p.m.
Well, as part of the quiet laws, although on Saturdays you're allowed to have loud noises up until midnight. After that, you have to keep it quiet until I think it's 8 a.m. Saturday morning, and then Sunday morning, excuse me. But then from Sunday morning, you're allowed loud noise from 8 a.m. until 1 p.m. and then you got to keep it quiet until 7 a.m. Monday morning. I'm like, huh? Okay.
That don't make sense.
Dude, I've been trying to wrap my brain around that for months and even years, but it is what it is, and you just have.
Even when I gotta move, I know, like, in a sense, I gotta. Well, okay, I'll admit, loud, but not too loud, especially like because where we're living in the basement. So, but we have a lot of cool stuff like the kitchen, all that jazz. So, in a way, I'll definitely be like at my best behavior, but still like say what he said, but not be too loud. But luckily, we live where it was taken at like yesterday. Community is just like all around. So there's a shopping center there, so walking distance. So that's good enough for me.
Yeah, and it's just been learning to, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, just learning to work within my limitations, because again, what people forget, when people start coming home around 5 or 6 in the evening, when I wake up about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, I only have a small window to get voiceovers done, and afterwards, that's it. The only thing I'm able to do after those is writing or editing. So, I do apologize for Real Features not being as prominent as it once was, but the fact of the matter is, sleep is important. And if I need
Absolutely.
And if I need to catch up on sleep, it's like, as much as I want to get onto a regular fortnightly basis of producing reviews, like, if you negate sleep for too long, it comes back to bite you. And I've had some periods where I've probably only had 2 hours of sleep on one particular day. I know on Boxing Day I only had 2 hours, but it didn't help matters that it was very humid that day. And unfortunately, if it's humid, I ain't sleeping because the heat keeps you awake. You'd think it would be the opposite. You'd think it would be the heat that puts you to sleep, but no, it's what wakes you up.
The fact you don't have air conditioning scares me.
I'd love to be able
Well,
to...
the UK didn't really have that proper air conditioning, considering summers did not used to be this hot or humid.
Okay.
until buildings started catching on fire on their own.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think it was 3 years ago. I think there was a story of a building in Leicester. Nobody was starting anything. There was nothing faulty. Building caught fire just by the heat alone.
My god.
I know. It is what it is, folks.
I remember when it gets so hot at times, like 90-some degrees. You used to get a brownout, and that's for a bit, no power. Then bam, comes back on.
I would find it frustrating. I would go to have a shower one time just to purposely try and cool down. And then I'm just about getting dried up. All of a sudden, I'm over sweating again. I'm like, oh, come on. Steve can attest to this. When it got to late September, when the temperature finally started cooling down, we felt a sense of relief. It's like, we can actually sleep at night. Because it would get to a point where, like, we can't take this. But it is what it is. Alright. There's nobody really to raid other than the lemon bun, so...
Yeah, I did see it. I did see her.
She's sweet. Until season 17, when it'll be either sometime in September or maybe at the beginning of October. That's yet to be decided. Thank you. Sincerely. Thank you for your patience, sticking with us, and hopefully we'll go into season 17 on a somewhat more regular basis and be able to produce material that will be to your liking, because season 16 was not what I wanted it to be, but unfortunately life happens and that's all there is to it. So until that time, I have been the Knight, saying good night from the night.
Take care, everybody.
We'll be back.